Hey there, it's Yolanda Lewis with the Simply Irresistible broadcast for today at our normal broadcast time. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm excited to be sharing with you. I'm doing something different today in that this is your time to share with me what you have going on and what questions you have about making it happen. I wanted to set some time aside, especially as we're getting into the latter part of the year. I wanted to be able to set some time aside so that you could. I know you're working. I know you're preparing for next year. I know you're doing all those things. So I want you to be able to ask questions as you need it. That's important that you ask questions as you need it. It's important that you have a space where that is okay. So I want to make sure that you have and know that that space is safe here. It's always safe right here to ask those kind of questions and to get what you need in the Intentional Entrepreneur Group live with me right in the Simply Irresistible broadcast, okay? So there's a couple things that I'll touch, and as folks are jumping in, of course, make sure that you give me some rockets so I know you're here and ready to learn and ready to grow and ready to do amazing things. So that's what that lets me know is that you're here. But in addition to that, let me know what questions you have. And if they don't get addressed in the live, I will definitely go back and answer each and every person's question in the chat. Okay, so come on in because we are here. We are here and we're ready to rock and roll. So I wanted to touch on three distinct things and questions that I get all the time from folks who are writing or folks who are having a book already or folks who are looking at how they need to market their book. Whether it's for the first time, the first book, a new book, an old book, whatever it is, they're looking for some assistance there. So there's certain questions that I get all the time, and I want to go over that with you. Okay. So the first question or topic, rather, actually, let me do it like this. There's actually three phases, if you will, of good morning. I see folks joining in. There's actually three phases of your book or author journey. I'll say it like that per book. All right, so there is the writing phase, and I'll touch on that in a second. Then there is the publishing phase, and I'll touch on that in a second. And then there is the marketing phase. That is the lifetime journey, if you will. Good morning, Jay Kyle. That is the lifetime journey of an author. They go through the writing phase, they go through the publishing phase, and then they go through the marketing phase, all right? And in the marketing, I include or incorporate the branding because you can't really brand. Good morning, Shantae. You can't really market until you've branded yourself with an expertise, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I'll talk high level, then I'll touch on certain areas within there, okay? So with the writing, a lot of times with writing, the question I get is, how do you start? How do you start? You know you want to write a book. You know you have something to share, and you know you want to put it out there, but you don't know where to start. All right? Where you start, of course, if you take the Author Boss Academy, if you join that, you'll see that there are actually analytical steps that you can take to make sure that your book will be a bestseller because it's exactly what people need. But from a theoretical perspective, in just writing, creative and theoretical, you want to make sure that you are looking at a problem, an answer to a problem. That's what you want to be. You want to be the answer to a problem. So if you look at what's going on around you and you look at the need in society, you want to look at whether or not that problem is big enough, right? The problem is big enough to where people will pay for a solution. That's how you start writing, whether it is fiction or nonfiction. You want to look at, is the problem big enough for me to put the solution out there and people pay to buy it? Because if they'll pay for the book, which is usually 10 to 12 bucks, sometimes 15, 20 bucks, however you choose to do your book, if people will pay for the book, they'll pay for everything else that comes with it that you'll learn in the Author Boss Academy with regard to your value ladder and really breaking out into speaking and all of those other great things that you want to achieve as an author, all right? So that is where you start. You look at, what problem do I solve? Even if you want to tell your story, some people want to share their story, right? So even if they're sharing their story, they want to, you can do that and integrate that within the problem that you're solving. Because even in your story, there's a problem that you solved for you. There's a problem that you solve. So talk about that. That's where you start. I love it. Thank you for the question. Question is about professional public speaking. Is it best to find an agent to get on a circuit for the signature talk? Great question, and I'm going to address that in just a minute. Love it, love it, love it. All right, stay tuned. So with regard to the writing, you start with the problem, okay? You start with the problem. Now, that problem, tying into the signature talk really quick, is going to connect to what you pitch when you go out to put yourself as a speaker. When you put yourself out there as a speaker, it ties into that. So that problem is going to be the problem that is found in your target audience, corporate America, church, the technology industry, business, small business persons and entrepreneurship. That same problem is going to be in your target audience. So there's no problem with shifting into your signature talk and getting into there. It's an easy sell to get into there. All right. So that's the writing. I'm going to answer the question that you put, Shantae, once I get to the marketing part. Okay. So that's it for, I want to just address the writing piece. When you're looking to write, when you're looking to start writing, where you start is at the problem. Okay. And you can infuse your story with that. If you need help with that, I'm your girl. I can help you write that best-selling story that not only helps people solve a problem, but touches their heart as well. Okay. So that's where you start when you're writing. You start with the problem. Okay. Now, the good thing is a lot of people, especially when you're going through your doctoral program, you want to turn your dissertation into a book. That's fine because you're solving a problem even with your dissertation, especially if it's PhD based. You did some type of research. And so with that research, you actually have analytics to go and back what you are suggesting as a solution or suggesting as something that needs to be added into a solution that's already in place, right? You're putting your value add to it. So that's why it's possible to take your dissertation and turn it into a book, so long as it solves the problem. Now, there's tweaking in it because with your dissertation, you're actually talking to a different audience. You're not necessarily talking to those who need the problem solved. You're talking to the people more on a peer level. So you're talking to folks that you'll need to just rearrange some of the language so that it sounds a little bit more conversational and palatable for your audience that needs to take that information and use it, not take that information and analyze it. All right. So it's very possible to do that when you know what the problem is. That's what I want to talk about with writing. How do you start? With regard to publishing, publishing is a journey in and of itself. You can indeed self-publish. I do own a publishing company because I believe very strongly that authors need the support, right? Even if it's your first book or your 10th book, sometimes you need the support of that second eye, that third eye to help you walk through the book, not necessarily from an editorial perspective, because you get all that with the packages that we have, and you can hire an editor to look at your work. But you want someone who has that brand hat on as well. So not only are we reviewing it from a perspective of making sure from an editorial perspective, the spelling, the grammar, all that good stuff, and there's a beginning, middle, and end to your story. All of that, we're doing all of that within the publishing company. You can get that done on your own if you choose to self-publish. But what you don't get is me. But what you don't get, actually, let me give you something right there. You get me, but in addition to that, you're getting branding expertise. Okay, so with the branding expertise, whether it's your first book or your 10th book, you have someone on your side, in your corner, challenging your thought about whether or not it makes sense to align, merge, mention, the topic that you have going on with your brand, or is it better to create a whole new brand? Whatever it is, right? You have that extra hands in, right? And an additional hand in, you've got your hand in, but it's an all hands in experience with Extreme Overflow Publishing. And that's what we provide. One of the things that make us different. That's what we provide in our publishing process. All right. You get to know and have access to hearing from someone who has been there, been in your exact same shoes, and knows what is required to really make impact. Because that's why you write a book. You don't write a book necessarily because it's fun. Okay, any author will tell you that. I don't know if it's fun more than it is enjoyable and fulfilling, because on the other side, you know you're creating and allowing there to be impact in your space. Okay, so there is the writing. Where do you start? I answered that question. In the publishing, you want to make sure that you are making a difference. And so the best way to do that is to have a coach. It's one of the things that I recommend, and I am happy to be that coach for you because I just love this stuff. I love, love, love what we do. And I've actually been, I digress for just a moment. We've actually been, I've had 2 international clients, and so for that reason, I'm now the world's favorite publisher, right? I'm not just America's favorite publisher. I'm the world's favorite publisher because we have actually had clients and tapped into client base in South America and Africa, from Uganda, and South America from Guyana. So I have been privileged and absolutely honored and blessed to work with such souls across the world. So you're talking to the world's favorite publisher here, all right? So I got what you need. I know what it takes, and I can help you to get there. Okay? Yes, yes. It was a good year. It was a lot going on this year, as we all know. But it wasn't all bad. There was a lot of good that came out of some of the bad things that were happening around us. So with that being said, I believe very strongly in the importance of all hands in and learning and figuring out, knowing how to know what you don't know, and then having someone there to help you to go through it. Okay. So if you have questions about publishing, yes, the world's favorite publisher, that's me. Okay. So if you have questions about publishing, please, 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 please go ahead and comment below, and I'll be happy to answer whatever questions you have. Or if you want to just post in the group, please feel free to post in the group as well any questions you might have about writing, about publishing, and then about the next topic with marketing. All right, so marketing, a lot of what I get in terms of questions has to do with speaking. And I'm finding that a lot of the authors that I serve have, if they're not speakers already, they have some type of speaking capacity or have a speaker's goal. They want to get into speaking, if you will. And so from there's a couple of things that I want to mention to make sure that you need. And I actually have a link to a course if you're interested in actually taking a course on that. And I'll post that later this week. So make sure you look out for that. It's a course that I took that I actually vouch for. It's a good, there's a lot of stuff out there that won't give you all of what you need. I actually met a client recently, and I'm so glad we were able to meet. She came to me as a referral, and people were charging her out the woo-za, okay? $25,000 to just kind of tell her what she needed, like coaching. And there's nothing wrong with charging people $25 if that's what $25,000 for 12 months if that's what you believe you are worth. I'm all for it. I actually say do it. I think it's great. I think it's amazing. But if you're doing that and you're not giving people what they need, then you're doing a disservice to not only them but also to your brand. Okay? Because the name of this game is not to just collect as you go past go. That's not the name of the game. The name of the game is impact. And the more impact you help others make, the more impact you will make as well. All right? So I'm not opposed to the $25,000 a year. What I am opposed to is that $25,000 a year doesn't cover what the person needs with regard to speaking, and they got to come to someone else to help them to get that together. Okay? So here's what very basic things that you need as a speaker. If you're going to position yourself as a speaker, there's some things that you need. Number one, you need a signature talk. Okay? A lot of times we want to jump into, yes, impact. A lot of times we want to jump into just thrusting yourself out there because you know the value that you have and you know the value that you can create in other people's lives. But if you don't know how to put that into a signature talk, all right, if you don't know how to bundle that up into a signature talk, okay, you're going to miss out the opportunities for not only people to see you, but for you to impact them. Okay, so it's important that you create a signature talk. Now, you can have multiple signature talks, and there's a formula for that in the course that I will share with you later in the week. Excuse me. But for now, I just need you to know that you need to have a signature talk. I'm going to pause for a moment. wet my whistle really quick. All right, so my husband, he teases me because of the way that I drink my water. He says, "Did you even get anything?" I did. I got a good, nice gulp. Sorry. Okay. So you need a signature talk. Your signature talk should align with the problem you solve in your book. That's how it makes it all simple, and it makes it easy for you to bundle up your book and having a table for after you get off the stage that people can come to, that people can meet you at, that you can network at, that people can book you as a speaker at their event at. Okay, so you need a signature talk, and that signature talk should align with the problem that you solve in your book. Don't recreate the wheel. There's no reason to do that. There's no reason to recreate the wheel when you wrote a whole book. And if you haven't written a book yet, you can align that signature talk with the book that you plan to write. Okay? Your book is the most expensive business card you'll ever pass and hand out. It's your ticket into the room. Okay? That's how it was explained to me when I wrote my first book. I had a friend who introduced me to her mentor, and he was so impressed. It actually made me nervous because he was more impressed than I was to have finished it. But the reason he was so impressed is because he said, "This is your ticket into the room. This is your ticket into the room." Now, if you don't know what room you need to enter in because you don't know what problem you solve with the book that you have, then you're in trouble. Okay? That's important. So your signature talk helps you to know the problem you solve so that you can know the room that you need to get into to help the people who are having that problem. All right, that's number one, your signature talk. Number two, you need an EPK. That's called an electronic press kit. All right, that's the acronym for an electronic press kit. Electronic press kit is comprised of your one sheet. Your one sheet. It can have your book on it, and sometimes it can have two pages, depending on what you do and all of what you're looking to solve, and testimonials that you want to include and make look pretty and all that good stuff. And in our packages at Extreme Overflow, our branding packages, we actually offer that service. We walk you through the whole brand. We walk you through building out or fine-tuning your value ladder, mixing it in with the speaking, because this particular branding package is just for the speaker. So with this branding package for speakers, we're building out your EPK. We're building out and working with you to do that, of course, your speaker reel. Okay, so you got your one sheet, your EPK, electronic press kit, and I'm going to tell you how all these things get sent out in a minute, and then I'll get to the question that was asked about, do I need an agent? All right, so with that being said, you want to prepare also your speaker reel. Your speaker reel should not, okay, your speaker reel, and then there's a highlight kind of introductory reel of you. Your speaker reel is going to show you actually speaking, all right? You might have a voiceover to it, and I'll actually post one of my speaker reels in the group so you guys can see an example of it. I'll do that later today, okay? But your speaker reel, there's a difference between that and your introduction reel. It's going to have you speaking. It's going to highlight the topics that you speak about. It's going to highlight even the people that you have spoken for, stages that you have spoken on, and it's going to give the person who listens a great idea of what you speak about, okay? From the level of like a commercial. Think like a commercial. All right. Now, this speaker reel is for event planners. It's for people who are looking to book speakers. They're expecting you, right? If you choose to have an agent, and I'll talk about that in a minute. If you choose to have an agent, that agent is going to submit your speaker reel, your EPK, and a small blurb about your signature talk. All right. And I'll talk about that in a second. I'll go back and highlight something about that really quickly too. Okay, so they're gonna send that out, and whether it's the agent or you, these are the three things that get sent out. They don't always get sent out all at once. Sometimes one gets sent out and then you send out another in a follow-up. It just depends on the way the conversation is going and how you're coming across the actual event to get you in. Now, I will say this that I learned from my course, and that is there are 2 times of the year that event planners are looking for speaker. Only 2. Can you get booked in the middle of those? Yeah. But the high demand, like the open season, is at 2 points of the year. They are September, October. Okay. Those event planners are looking for people or speakers to speak on their platform for events that they're having the following spring. All right, so September, October is when you're going to be doing all of your pitching for spring events. Okay, then you have February, March. And in February, March, those event planners are looking for folks who are looking for speakers to have at their events that are happening in the fall and the winter. Those are the 2 times of year. 2 times of the year. I don't know why I keep fudging that. 2 times of the year. September, October, and February, March. Okay? Now, what do you do in between that time if you miss those boats? You prepare. You should be getting together your EPK. You should be getting together your signature talk. You should be getting together all of your branding and making sure that your page, this is another thing you need, that your page, your website page, your speaker page, you should have a speaker page on your website. And that speaker page should have your speaker reel on it, all right? That is also on YouTube. Remember, YouTube is not just video watching something, right? It's a streaming service. It's a search engine. YouTube is a search engine. When you're looking to, how do I flat iron my hair, right? Or how do I cut my hair, right? If you're a guy. That's the best thing I can come up with for the guys, okay? If you're trying to figure out how to anything, where do you go? You go to Google, but you also go to YouTube because you want to watch that hands-on demonstration of something. So that's what they're looking for. Event planners do the same thing. They're looking for speakers. How to, if I'm an event planner and I know my audience has a problem with leadership, right? Because we just had mega turnover this year because of the pandemic. And now we're trying to restructure and reorg our whole leadership team in our leadership department, right? Or maybe I have a finance group where I know we're having a finance retreat even. Excuse me, we're doing a finance retreat and we need someone to come in and re-energize our team with some team building skills and things of that nature, right? They're looking for a speaker that can do that. So they're going to look up how to relax in a tense, how to relax. How does a banker relax, right? And that might be the title of your video. And they're like, oh my gosh, I just typed that in and this is what popped up. That's the person I want to book. Okay, so when you get into SEO, you make sure your tags and your meta tags on your site, as well as on your YouTube page, has the right stuff that people are typing in to search for so that they find you. We can talk about that another day. But for purposes of this discussion with regard to speaking, you have that EPK, you have that speaker reel, and you have your speaker page on your website. Those are absolutely key and critical, all right? With your signature talk, did I say that? Let me just repeat. You have your signature talk, your EPK, your speaker reel, and your speaker page on your website. All right, you need to have those things in place before you go pitching yourself out to anyone. All right, because you're going against the person that has all that already together. Keep that in mind. Be that person that it has it already together. All the package, right? The package of it. Don't worry about it being perfect. Don't worry about it being looking like, a top speaker, all that. Don't try to be where you're at, where you're not. Don't try to be where you're not. Okay? Don't try to be where you're not. I can't even stress that enough. Don't try to be where you're not, because it will show. All right? It will show. It will show. Okay? It will show that you are not really there, because they'll see it in other material, all right? Give it your best shot, of course. Do your best for where you're at right now, but don't try to be where you're not. It will show, okay? So those are the things that you need as a speaker. Now, with all of that, okay, let's say you have your speaker, your signature talk. I don't know why I had a brain freeze right there. You have your signature talk. You have your EPK, your one sheet, real pretty. You have your speaker reel, and you have your speaker website up. With that, you are now ready to pitch yourself to to event planners. Okay, that's what you do with all that stuff. You pitch yourself to event planners, which means you need to look for events that coincide with what your problem that you solve can fit. You can tweak what with your signature talk. You'll tweak it maybe a little bit to fit the audience. So let's say you have a signature talk about mental health. You might tweak that mental health for bankers differently than you would for preachers, right? So you might do a little bit of tweaking, but the talk itself is not going to change. Okay, and how you position it to that event planner might be a little bit different, but the talk that you are sharing is not going to change because that's your signature talk. That's the whole point of signature talk. That's why you spend time in doing a signature talk and preparing a signature talk so that you can get in front of people who need to hear it. Okay, so your target audience, yes, with this is event planners. That's who's looking to book speakers. Make friends with event planners. They are your friend. And they know you're coming too, so don't be inauthentic. Keep it real, keep it 100. What you can expect is once you send that initial email, and again, don't info dump them. But what you can expect when you send that initial email, the next step is for them to say, yeah, we really know we're going to pass you along to the team. The team's going to discuss. We definitely want these three. Go talk to them, interview them, what have you. And then you're going to be interviewed. All right. You can expect to be interviewed, which is why you can't be who you're not. Because they're going to ask you questions. What's the largest stage you've ever spoken on? And they say that so that they can know whether or not you can handle the crowd. If you're pitching to speak at an event that has 500 people and you've never spoken at an event with 500 people, and on this call you don't sound confident, guess who's not getting booked for that speaking engagement? You. They're going to book the person that can handle and manage that level of energy, because it's an energy when you're speaking live in front of a huge audience. There's a certain energy that you got to be able to maintain and keep interest of. Okay, it's not just about beautiful PowerPoint. It's about personality. You're an entertainer at that point. And let me say this too. When event planners are looking to book speakers, they're looking at 4 different types of speakers. Okay. I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys, and this probably should be a masterclass, right? But anyways, this is the Simply Irresistible broadcast that you are getting free information that you can take and use right away, okay? So with that being said, there are 4 types of speakers that you can classify yourself as, and event planners are looking for. There's a motivational speaker. There is an educational speaker. There is a demonstrative speaker. And then there is, hold on, I got a call coming in that I got to get rid of. Okay, there's a demonstrative speaker, and then there's an entertainer. All right, those 4 are the types of speakers that event planners know that they're looking for. One of those types. Now, your style may fall into 1 or 2 of them, but it's not going to fall into 2 or 3. Okay, it's not going to fall into 2 or 3. You're going to need to know which style you are, because that will help you to determine which events you need to be pitching to. All right, so there's motivational speaker, there's educational speaker, there's demonstrative speaker, and then there's entertainment, all right, or entertainer. The motivational speaker is the person that says, yeah, you can do it. I'm going to make sure that you know when you walk off the stage, your audience believes they can do whatever it is that they have been challenged with, right? That's you. And there are some people that enjoy, or that's what they need for that level. Or an event planner might say, you know what? I actually spoke at an event. I'm giving you an example now. I actually spoke at an event where they had a motivational speaker, but they needed something else, right? They wanted to provide that motivation, but they needed something else. So that I got booked into the lineup because I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm an educational speaker. I'm going to give you the how to. So after that person says, you can do it, woo, woo, woo. This is how you do it. I did it. You can do it. We can do it. Everybody can do it. That's the message, right? After that, they needed someone to say, and here's how. Okay, and so that's where I came in, and that's why I was booked for that event. Now, I actually only I got paid $500 to speak for, I think, 15 minutes. But I gave how-tos. And anybody who's ever worked with me knows that 15 minutes was surely jam-packed. And the audience definitely walked away needing and getting something from the time that I shared. But my point is that motivational, sometimes there's a need for both. So you don't have to be both. Be who you are where you're at. I want you to always remember that and be confident to be who you are where you're at. Okay? So the motivational speaker, you can do it. Do it. Go do it. We can do it. You can do it. Exactly. So then the educational speaker is the how-to person. Everything they do is, and this is how, right? I might share anecdotes. I might share and be, I have personality, right? So I'm going to give you personality. But at the end of the day, you need to have your pencil and paper ready, because what I'm going to drop to you, you're going to need to write down and remember so you can actually take action on, right? You can actually take action on. That's my flow. What's your flow? Okay. Then you have demonstrative. Demonstrative, let's say you're a chef, okay? If you're a chef, you are more than likely going to be a demonstrative / educational speaker, all right? But demonstrative first, because the demonstrative is, I'm going to watch you put this ingredient with that ingredient and that ingredient not with this ingredient, and tell me why not. Or maybe not, you don't tell me why not. You just tell me, put these ingredients together and this is how you cut it this way and not this way, etc. Okay, so that demonstrative, the best example I like to use for the demonstrative speaker is someone who is a chef, because they're demonstrating to you what and how to do whatever it is. They're showing you through demonstration, which is a little bit different than teaching in terms of the educational, because in the educational you might throw in some live examples, right? With sand in a cup, or a glass of some type of water chemical that if you put the eye drop in, it makes it a different color. You might do some of those things, but that wouldn't necessarily classify you as an educational speaker as a demonstrative speaker, because it's just an example. The demonstrative, the whole thing of everything that they do and everything they teach is it by demonstration. Okay, so that's demonstrative. Then you have your entertainer, all right? And I'm not an entertainer. Although I probably could be. Actually, I'm not going to say I'm not an entertainer, but the entertainment is for your artist, it's for your singer, it's for your, I won't say preacher, because that could go more, I would call a preacher a motivational, something more along the lines of motivational. Although there is entertainment elements. This is why I say there's 1 to 2 that you'll probably sit in because, or cross over into because of style. So with that being said, the entertainer is your rapper, it's your singer, it's anybody who's going to perform. Okay, your entertainer is a performer. It's your dancer, it's your comedian. You can be a comedian and be considered a speaker because your classification is entertainment. All right. And you can get booked for gigs too. On the corporate level, on the church level, there's churches who do cruises and they pay comedians. Because folks are there to relax. They want to laugh. They want to, everything can't be serious and about healing because it doesn't make it fun. And people don't want to buy into that, right? When you're looking to solve a problem, you've got to be holistic in that with this example, right? If let's say I'm doing something healing. It can't be healing the whole time. It'll be draining because people are revisiting all type of feelings and emotions that they ain't never touched before. They're going to be drained. So to balance it out, you're going to hire a comedian, an entertainer, right? To come in and lighten it up and keep it soft so that you have that balance of yin and yang, that you have that balance of up and down, if you will, or hot and cold, so that you have an environment conducive for healing. Okay, so entertainers and performers and dancers, let's say you have a conference where they're opening up with dancing and maybe they're doing the flag thingy, or maybe they're just an actual performer of dancing, whatever it is. I had to give you the example because I'm a little bit theatrical because that's my speaking style, right? But you might have that, and that's okay to add into it. So event planners are looking for all of that. So here's the thing, okay? This is very key, all right? With your signature talk, let's say you have more than one topic, okay? Let's say you actually are a motivator and an entertainer. And I'll give you an example of that, right? Let's say you have a preacher who's also a singer. They fall into two clearly distinct and complementing categories, but they could be booked two separate ways. You want to be able to know that about yourself so you can know how to pitch it and when to pitch it, right? So let's say you are booking, let's say I'll use a preacher for example. Let's say they have an event, there's a conference, right? And they're looking for speakers, right? But you see that their lineup for their musical lineup is kind of weak, okay? It's kind of weak. So with that said, you may want to pitch yourself as the performer who can meet people in the back of the room and sell your speaking and your books and your CDs, it might be more advantageous for you or profitable for you on the back end than it would be to just be a speaker. All right. So you want to look in and go. When you're looking at events, you want to look at what the need is. What are they missing? When I first started speaking, my very first speaking engagement was at Texas A&M University at their, they have a student-led leadership conference for, it's Black student leadership or Black leadership conference. I don't remember the name. Southwestern Black Leadership Conference. And so, oh man, you talk about the energy of the youth there. It was amazing. They were intelligent. They were fired up. They had energy. They had the book smart. But what I could see that they were missing is they knew nothing about etiquette. And as a young professional, when I got started in the game, if you will, of corporate America, as a consultant, I had book knowledge, but there were so many other things that I didn't know that you needed to know. For example, when you're going out to the dinners, right? After work, you think you rocking it out in your expertise, and after work there's a team dinner. Well, you can't show up with your jeans and your cute, boots and all that. That's not the way you present yourself at the team dinner in corporate America, even though they say it's casual. They don't really mean casual, just so you know if there's anybody out there. They don't really mean casual, right? And even when you're ordering food, there's a certain way to order food. Which forks do you use? All those good things. So while those students were superior in their knowledge and they were Greek and they had all their, letters and insignia, they were powerful. The energy was so powerful. You could feel all of this, the intelligence, but they didn't know what they didn't know. So when I saw the lineup, I said, you know what? Here's what they're missing. They didn't ask for the speaker of an business dining etiquette speaker. They didn't ask for that, but it was needed. And I know it was needed because of my experience. So I pitched to the event planners to say, hey, you guys, I see what you are looking for, but I want to present to you something else. I want to give you another idea. And I actually I was chosen to go and speak for that event. Not because I fit in the mold of what they were looking for, but because I didn't. I didn't fit the mold what they were looking for, and I gave that. And it was one of the highest ranked sessions of their conference, so much so that they asked me to come back the next year. So with the same presentation, it was business dining etiquette. I'm sharing that to give an example of how you're not just looking to fit in the mold of whatever the event planner is looking for. You might find, like I said, you're a preacher, but you see that there's a need for the other piece of what you provide. Give that. Okay. And also too, in the business dining etiquette, I was finding that adults necessarily, they did need it, but they weren't as open to saying that they need it as the students who didn't know what they needed were. All right. So you have to take into account all those things when you have a signature talk, when you know the problem that you're solving. All right. So to get to the question that was asked earlier, do I need an agent? Do you need one? No. Can you make money and book gigs without it? Yes. Is it helpful to have if you know you don't have the time to be looking up events and submitting yourself? Yes. It's worth the investment. So do you need one, like have to have it, like you won't be able to be a success without it? No. It just depends on what your personal needs are in terms of what you need in your schedule, in your life, and all of those things. But I will tell you this. If you are interviewing agents, make sure that they either will provide the branding for you in terms of putting together your EPK and your speaker reel and your signature speech, or make sure you know whether or not they're looking for you to already have that together. If they're looking for you to already have that together, then you need to do that step. You can come see me to do that, but you need to do that step before you do the other one. All right. Before you do the step of getting and booking an agent, make sure you talk with them first, because $25,000, it might be a good investment. But if you don't have all of your ducks in a row, you're paying them $25,000, and then you got to pay a branding expert another 5 to 10 because you got to get your brand together so that the person that you're paying $25,000 to can pitch you. They can't pitch you without any of this stuff. All right. You're so welcome, Shantae. You're welcome. Any other questions? All right. So we talked about, I'll just go over what we talked about briefly because I gave y'all a lot today. We talked about writing, okay, and where you start with the writing. You can fast forward and figure out what I said as the answer to that at the end of this broadcast. Number two, we talked about publishing and the benefit of having a publisher. That's pretty much what I answered. The benefit of having a publisher. Can you do it on your own? Absolutely. And will I still work with you for branding afterwards? Absolutely. I don't have to have just published you in order to work with you on branding. We can work on branding no matter what your book is. It's helps if we do it all in one swipe, but it's okay if we don't. It's okay if we don't because I'm here to serve you. I want to get you where you're trying to go. All right? And then we talked about marketing, okay? And what that looks like from a speaker's perspective. Okay? And those are the three things. I'm going to do these Q&As sporadically throughout the rest of this year for the Simply Irresistible broadcast because I think they're beneficial and I want to make sure before we hit the new year, no matter what that looks like or no matter what happens in that year, I want to make sure that you are ready. You are ready for everything that's supposed to be yours in the coming year, in the coming months. And not just so you can hold on to it, but so you can help others. All right, so we're going to do these, so stay tuned. Invite some folks to this group. We just finished our live challenge. They can go back and check that out and enroll into the Author Boss Academy. I'm going to post my speaker reel as an example that I have so that you can take a look at it. I'll also post my EPK as an example that has booked me engagements. Like I said, I got paid $500 for 15 minutes and they flew me to Boston. So that was pretty cool as well. So you can make money out there without having an agent. I don't have an agent. Now, for my next level, will I get one? Probably so. Because I'm getting to the place where I no longer have the time or capacity to submit and follow up. Let me say this too. If you're going to choose to do it yourself, please, I beg you, follow up. Follow up because those event planners are busy. They're busy, okay? They have a lot of people coming at them. Be the one that follows up. And when you follow up, I'll give you a little sneaky tip. When you follow up, send them a video. Do a personal video. Like, don't just send an email. Hey, I'm following up. Send them a video message. Hey, Amber. Hey, Jill. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Joan. Hey, Mark. Hey, John. Hey, Marcus. Hey, Jack. Hey, Shantae. This is Yolanda Lewis. I submitted for your speaker. I submitted a speaker proposal for your event. And if your audience is wondering, blah, 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 that's the answer that I provide, whatever it is. And so I just wanted to follow up with you to see if you need anything further or had any questions. Do a video message real quick directly to them. If you hadn't already, check out my reel. It's in the link below, that kind of thing. And it puts you to the top of the list like, oh my gosh, they took the time to shout me out in a video. Don't do no generic video. Don't do no generic video if you're going to do this strategy, and do it for the ones that you really are interested in participating. So what I would recommend you do as a call to action, right? I like to give a call to action at the end. Yes, invite people into the group. Yes, we're going to do more of this sporadically through to the end of the year. But what I want you to do is start looking at the types of events that are out there. Start looking for how they're booking their speakers. Start looking at whether or not they're paying their speakers. And you can tell that because they'll say in the speaker language that we not only are we not going to pay you, there's the compensation is exposure. And sometimes that's good. Depends on what your goals are. But if the compensation is exposure and you don't get to sell your book, you probably don't want that event, right? Unless you're needing to get some speaking repertoire under your belt, right? So that you can wow them and then say, hey, I've spoken at this conference, that conference, this conference, that conference. If you need to be able to say that, then you may want to invest in some of those events, but you do not have to invest in some of those events if you don't have a speaking history. You don't have to speak for free. I actually don't even encourage it. You don't have to do that. It's dependent on you. You can still make money as a new speaker. It's just all about the strength of your signature talk, your confidence, and how you present your brand. Okay? All right, so take a look at, this is your homework. Take a look at what is out there. What kind of speakers are people looking for 2021? Because while you might have missed what they're doing for the spring, and you might be able to catch some, speaker proposals sometimes go all the way through November and sometimes even December for events coming up in the spring. So check it out, okay? The high time, though, for the big events internationally is September, October. That's the sweet spot. But it doesn't mean that there's none out there. So go and look to see what's out there. What are they asking for in their application? Okay, go and look at that. Look and see if they're paying speakers. And whether or not that's advantageous for you. You don't have, let's say you want to speak at Essence Fest, right? They don't, if you're a new speaker, they're probably not going to, they're not going to pay you. That matter of fact, they might even ask you to pay for a booth or something. But here's where there's an advantage, all right? And this I want to open your mind to get you thinking. So you might not get hired as a speaker, like paid as a speaker to speak at Essence Fest. But what you can do is have an event during that same time so that you can pitch yourself as a speaker at Essence Fest who is doing a nightcap at a cafe, or a breakfast at a cafe during that same time and get some new followers. So that's an idea that you can think about too in terms of events. When you're looking at speaking at an event, it's not just about dollar for dollar exchange. There should be dollars exchanging. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's not dollar for dollar. Sometimes it's dollar for experience. Sometimes it's dollar for building your audience, and actually expanding your platform into a new place. So be open to the ways that you can expand yourself based on what you need, because you're sitting and you're being where you're at. You're not trying to be where you're not. Okay? All right. I won't give you no more homework, but go out and see what they're looking for, what events are happening and being planned for 2021, virtual or otherwise, because you can still get paid for virtual events. Just because it's virtual doesn't mean it's free. Okay, so get out there and look at what events are being planned for 2021. How are they looking for speakers? And do you have, when you look at that application, do you have everything that is on there? Because if you don't, now is the time to prepare. Now is the time. And if you can't get on a platform, create your own. I've done it multiple times. Create your own so that you can get the experience speaking in front of a diverse group of whatever, whether it's experience doing diverse media like this, or if it's experience doing in-person small or big or whatever it is, get experience doing that, okay? This is the time to do that while you are not being booked. All right. Any other questions? If there's other questions, drop them below. We went really, really good tonight or today. We did really, really well to talk about some great things. I hope it helped you. We talked about writing, we talked about publishing, and we talked about marketing from a speaker's perspective. And those will be the three topics that we always talk about when we do the Q&A. So that's what you have. Yes, masterclass for sure. I know it. This is what you can look forward to for the next go round. Okay, I'm gonna let y'all go. Have a wonderful day. And I'd love to hear about your homework. Okay, I'd love to hear how you guys did with the homework once you've done it, what you found. Just feel free to randomly post in the group. Okay. All right. Talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.